Welcome back to the Grounded Brand Podcast, episode number 5.
Yeah, I believe so.
We're 5 in, and you're already wondering what episode.
5 in. That's short-term memory loss.
It's not like we've had anything going on.
Yeah, we sure haven't.
So we just got back from Nashville at the NWTF convention. Had a great time up there. Met some really cool people. Some good friends that we got to see again.
Yep.
Got to release the pants and the shirts. First time the pants were actually sold and seen. So that was exciting to see the response from that.
You know what's funny? You know what I realized after we edited the last episode? If you listen to the podcast, we didn't release the pants until like
2 days later.
NWTF.
Yeah, that was an oversight.
That was an oversight, but you knew the pants were coming
Yeah.
if you listen to the podcast because we accidentally said it.
That's right. So
that
whoever
episode.
listened to the podcast on that Monday
Yep.
knew exactly what was fixing to get released.
You
at
knew.
NWTF.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you're welcome. And thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, but thank you guys seriously for coming out to see us at NWTF. We actually talked to quite a bit of listeners
Yeah.
as well. So that was
Got a
great.
lot of good feedback on the last episode that we had with Dwayne on there. I knew
Yeah.
we would touch a lot of people and challenge some folks on that. So
Yep.
to hear some people actually listen to it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Dwayne came by too, and we said thank you because you know I personally think that was our best episode yet.
Yeah, it was definitely a good one.
For sure.
Yeah,
So
definitely. So good time in Nashville.
yeah,
We're about to have a good time in Raleigh, the Dixie Deer Classic.
Yeah, man. So we're gearing up for that. Luckily, we get a week off. I guess you can call this a week off, but we get a week at home, get some time to spend with the family, wives and kids, and then we head out in, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, and then we'll be gone for 4 or 5 days. So pretty
Yep.
excited about that.
Yeah, booth M5 and M6 at that show. So if you're
Okay.
in the Raleigh area or going to travel to that show, be sure to look us up and come see some of the products that we've got to offer.
And that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show.
Yes.
It's not like NWTF. So
Yep.
it will start on Friday and go all the way through Sunday. So
and first time we're at that show too. So
Yes.
if y'all are in Raleigh or you know that area and you plan on coming, come see us.
show us some love.
Yep.
I mean, it's a 10-hour drive from Huntsville, and pulling a
least.
trailer probably be 12 hours. So,
Yeah, it's a long drive.
So
Well, let's jump right into this episode.
let's go.
All right, so we've got a special guest with us this time, Mr. Zach Lucas with Kingdom Connection Outdoors. Zach's been turkey hunting for 27 years. He's from West Virginia, so he's gone up and down those mountains his whole life, sounds like. He's an accountant, so he's just like us. He's got a job.
Yeah,
You know, he wishes that he got to turkey hunt every day, like we, just like we wish we could.
Arguably has a more stressful job than all of us.
Yeah, and
And this time of the year, being an accountant, I mean, I don't even see how he finds time to get off to go hunting, anyways.
I don't even know how he had time to do this episode.
For real.
Well, Zach, we appreciate you making time, man. And if you would, just kind of introduce us a little bit and tell our listeners and everybody, if they haven't already, about Kingdom Connection and what you guys have going on over there.
Absolutely. First off, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you guys. Drew, I've known you for several years now, going back to your inception with Grounded, I guess 2020, it says there on your sign. So
Yeah.
a few years. Yeah, Kingdom Connection. We started, actually, it just kind of started with me and some buddies, just kind of about like any other filming thing or any company, really. Just me and some buddies carrying a camera through the woods, thinking we were going to be the next Primos, get a sponsor, live the dream and all that stuff. And we started out as Grunt Goblin Gills Outdoors, and that's where our YouTube started at. So
Sorry,
that's why our channel
hold on
YouTube-
one second. Can you repeat that? Because
Yeah,
maybe I
Grunt-
missed it.
Grunt Goblin Gills Outdoors.
Okay, got it.
That's an awesome name.
That's a great name.
Yeah, so it was Grunt Goblin Gills, and then we just shortened it to like GGG Outdoors because it was a mouthful. And so our YouTube was started as Grunt Goblin Gills, and that's why it still says that on our YouTube channel. It says Kingdom Connection / Grunt Goblin Gills Outdoors because it wouldn't allow us to change the name completely. But long story short, we started as that. We were just filming or whatever, and then I met my wife, and she was a worship leader and was big into church, and I was raised in church my whole life. My family traveled the country and sang Southern gospel music till the time I was 16 years old, and so I was raised in that background, anyways. And one of the first things that she asked me as we were getting serious in our relationship was, what's your calling in life and what's your purpose? And I'd really never thought about it, because up to that point, all I cared about was hunting and sports. And I didn't really think about what my purpose was, what my calling was, what I was going to do in my life that was bigger than me. So at that point, Grunt Gobble and Gills kind of evolved into a ministry, because I felt like that was my calling in life, that God had placed this desire in my heart to use the outdoors, which was my passion, to share the love of God, the love of Jesus with people through that platform. And I didn't need to use it, as a soapbox to get up on and preach or anything. I just wanted to use, His creation to show His love and His mercy for us. So that's where Grunt Gobble and Gills evolved into Kingdom Connection at that point. And some of the people that I had involved with Grunt Gobble and Gills Outdoors kind of weeded themselves out, because they weren't cut out for that, or they didn't want to be in ministry like I did. So so my wife and I were worship leaders together, and we were involved in church, but I had Kingdom Connection as an outdoor ministry. And so I lost friends along the way that, I thought were my friends, and they were just kind of in there for perks or benefits or whatever. And then God replaced them with other people in my life. That's just the way He works, is he giveth and He taketh away, and He puts people in your life for certain periods of time. And so some of my very best close friends now I met after it evolved into a ministry. So
Nice.
Kingdom Connection evolved into a ministry, and we try to do several like critter dinners every year at different churches and speak at things like that. And then like we have a YouTube channel, and we try to just we don't by any means preach to people on there. I mean, I'm a turkey hunter like through and through. That's what I live to do. And I just want to share the love of God through His creation. And the turkeys are, I mean, you all know, they're very, I mean, they're beautiful. They're a beautiful creation that he gives us. And so I try to use that as my platform, just to give him thanks. That's simply what it is.
Yeah.
So,
well, kudos to you for using that platform and just your hobby to further the kingdom, man. I know that can be tough, but I think that's what we're all called to do. We're all blessed with certain gifts and talents, and that's one of your gifts and talents, man, is turkey hunting. Just like somebody else, as we talked about last week, may have been golf or fishing, whatever that looks like. But keep up the hard work there, man. So going forward, obviously, big time turkey hunter. You've got 2 girls. One of the topics really that we wanted to discuss tonight was introducing children to the outdoors, and kind of what you've seen through that. Kind of what inspired you to start really getting your kids out there with you.
I think that all kind of started for me. Short, brief story on background of my kids. My wife and I adopted our kids, and so as soon as we got, my oldest was 7 when we got her, and then my youngest was a newborn when we got her. And so anyway, as soon as I got them, my oldest was 7, like I said. As soon as I got them, she was in the woods with me, walking with me, hanging out. She loved it. I can remember vividly, and I might get emotional, but I can remember vividly when we picked her up. I was talking to her. I had never met her before. Was talking to her. She was in the back seat of our car, and I said, "What do you like to do, or what do you like?" And she said, "I love to sit outside and hear the birds sing." And it melted me.
Yeah,
immediately melted me, and because I love that too. The sound of the spring birds and everything. I mean, that's what we live for as turkey hunters, and it melted me. So immediately, I had her in the woods with me. And that goes back to the way that I was raised. I mean, my dad, from the time that I was bitty, had me in the woods, and I was following his footsteps. And I can remember watching him walk and trying to put my feet right where his feet came up. And, I was just raised in the woods from a very young age. And I feel like that ingrained in me early on, and made it to where I wanted my kids to have that same thing. I have a brother, and it didn't take with him, but it took with me. So, and that was a big part of, and it still is. It's a big part of my life. It's why I am who I am. And so I wanted my kids to have that too. So my daughter, like I said, we adopted them. I wasn't allowed to take her on an actual hunt with a gun until our adoption went through. So she was 9, which is convenient because in West Virginia, the age for a youth hunter is 9 years old. You can't take them until they're 9.
Okay.
Now, I personally believe that you as a parent should have the right to say that if your kid's ready or not to go. If you have a 5-year-old that is ready, but then by all means that he deserves to be able to go. That's just my opinion on it.
Right.
But our law was 9, so I took her when she was 9, and she killed her first turkey, and it was a special moment that I'll cherish forever. I have the video. I'll never forget it. I'll be able to rewatch it as many times as I want to. But like I said, it goes back to the way that I was raised. And, I called my first turkey in when I was 9 years old too. And my dad killed it. But that was when my passion started, when I was 9 years old, and I was forever changed after that experience. And I feel like, if you've got young kids, the more you can get them in the woods at a young age, then the better off they're going to be, because at a young age, I was talking to a friend about this today, at a young age, all of those early learning experiences without you carrying a weapon are very vital to your success as a hunter in your older age. Like, you learn woodsmanship at a younger age. You learn how to be quiet in the woods. You learn how to sit still in the woods. You learn all those things when you're little and you don't have the gun in your hand. But all those things are extremely important lessons that you have to know and you have to have in your life, in your groundwork, for you to be, successful later on. And, like I was telling them at the convention last week, whenever I was little, my dad didn't turkey hunt. My dad never even knew how to turkey hunt, but he knew that I wanted to go turkey hunt. So me and him went and we learned together, and we learned through a lot of hard lessons. And, the bird taught us the lessons, and those are lessons that I have in my memory bank very vividly that I can pull back on, now. So I feel like that groundwork that you get at a young age is extremely vital and extremely important. Not only learning, hunter safety and all that, but just learning woodsmanship and all those other things I mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's cool that you mentioned that your dad really wasn't a turkey hunter growing up, but he took the time to find out what your interest was, and then he made a point where y'all could do that together and figure it out on your own. I think there's a lot of dads out there that may not have a good idea or connect with their kids in certain ways, and I think it's important that it may not be turkey hunting, it may be something different, that I think we have an obligation to try to figure out what that is that they like, what gets them excited. And as a parent, I think we ought to take time to look into that. So I think that's pretty cool of how your dad stepped into that, man.
Yeah, and I think I relate to that as well, because, I've never been turkey hunting before. We talk about it on the podcast ad nauseum sometimes, but, I've never been turkey hunting before, but this is something that I want to get into. It's something that, Brandon and Drew have been teaching me about. And, it's something that I hope one day, my daughter sees me going and wants to go as well.
Yeah.
So I relate to that a lot. And, I think it's really cool that you and your dad got to learn together. I think that's really neat.
Yeah. You kind of touched on what experiences you went through and what made you want to introduce your daughter to it and how she got interested into it. Can you talk about any of the benefits that you've seen since you started carrying her with you and since she started participating in turkey hunting?
Yeah, I think just in general, hunting in general, if your kid is hunting, you don't have to worry. You're not going to ever have to worry about them. I just personally, my dad got me started hunting when I was young, and it took with me, like I said. So, they never had to worry if I was out running around or whatever, because I was always in the woods.
Right.
Like, always.
Yep.
Either I was fishing or I was hunting all the time, and that's all I wanted to do. And, I think that it teaches kids a lot of life lessons, and I think it makes them, especially, if they do have success. I mean, yeah, it's exciting, and they get to share that and everything, and they get to tell their friends, and they get to show it to their family, and they get a lot of high fives and stuff. But at the same time, you get to teach a lot of life lessons. I mean, you just took the life of a creature,
Right.
creation. You just took their life, and you should respect that. You should respect their life and give thanks. I mean, God put those on the earth for us. It says in the Bible that He gave dominion of the animals over, to us.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, He put them here to feed us. We thank Him for it. Our family eats a lot of wild game,
Right.
a lot. So, we're very thankful to have that, to get us through another year. And, I've taught them that from a very early point. My oldest daughter's killed 3 turkeys now, and I shared this a little bit with you at the convention, but her first turkey, we went and hunted out of a blind because she was little, and and a lot of little kids are fidgety and stuff. It's hard to, especially with a turkey, and I was filming, especially with that, it's just hard with a little kid to keep them still and get away with that stuff. So I felt like a blind was necessary. I don't hunt out of a blind. That's just my personal thing. It's okay if you hunt out of a blind. That's you.
Yeah.
But me personally, I just don't. It just confines me, and I don't like it. I want to be back against the tree, and I want to call the turkey in, and I want to feel everything around me. In a blind, I feel like I'm like claustrophobic almost.
Right.
So I took her in a blind, and she killed her first turkey, and it was a very emotional thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, she got bigger. Well, then she was small, so we'll probably touch on some of this stuff later on, equipment and stuff. But she had like a field pod that her gun sat on, and so all she had to do was just get on the gun and aim it and shoot. Well, as she got bigger and she could handle a gun, I told her, no more blind, no more field pod, no more chair, no more of that. Like, you're going to learn to hunt what I feel is the right way to hunt a turkey. And that's just my way. That's just my personal way. There's no right or wrong way, but as long as it's legal. But I told her that, and we went and did it, and she killed one with her back against a tree, and it was an awesome hunt. And then she was like, "This is so much better."
I was gonna ask,
and I allowed her to formulate that opinion. I gave her both options, and then she was able to formulate if she liked it in the blind or not. But when she did it, first thing she said when she looked at me was, that was way better.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I'm sure she enjoyed that hunt a lot more than the one sitting in the blind, didn't she?
Yeah, and that hunt that hunt in particular, we were against a tree, and a turkey was roosted around this holler to our left. There was 2 of them, and they walked right by us. They had to come by us at like 15 yards, and she had to sit there motionless, and she could see them walking by us to get to the decoys in front of her.
Wow.
And then she let them strut around the decoys for a few minutes, and then she shot them. So she got to feel that. She got to see that. She got to feel them drumming beside of her.
Mm-hmm.
And in the blind, we had turkeys walk by us, but you know how it is. They're in a blind spot right there. So she couldn't see them until they got in front of her to to where she could see them. So it's just a totally different feel. Like I said, in a blind, I always feel like I can't hear, I can't see, I'm claustrophobic. And then out in with your back against a tree, you feel and hear everything.
Right.
So that's just, and like I said, I let her formulate that opinion, and that's what she formulated. So
that's cool.
I think she waited a little longer than I would have. I don't think I'd have let them watch. I wouldn't have watched them. I'd have just gone ahead and shot one.
That's right, man.
So obviously she's learned patience through this, right?
Oh yeah, she's learned that hunt's actually on the channel. So plug for the channel. Go check that hunt out.
Awesome, man. I was actually you talked about a kid having patience. As a father who carries their daughter or their son out hunting, I mean, I think we learn patience as well too.
You got that
out of that whole process.
Yep.
Because I mean, we're sitting here. Yes. Obviously, we're trying a couple days or weeks before to get them prepared for the hunt, but I mean, just with the experience that I had, we practiced shooting, and Zach, my daughter she was 5 at the time, so we were definitely sitting in a blind. I'm not hardcore like Drew over here, but anyways, we sat in the blind, And we practiced shooting in the blind as well too. So I tried to make it as realistic as possible. And so anyways, when that moment came for her to shoot her first bird, we put a lot of time and effort into it. And she told me she didn't want to shoot. And so my mind is sitting here thinking, oh wow, we put a lot of time, we put a lot of early mornings here, and now she's decided she didn't want to shoot. And in my mind, I'm like, you're gonna shoot this bird. We done put way too much effort and practice and everything into it. But yeah, you talk about patience, man. I was praying for patience that morning when we had that opportunity. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's a good point. And I want to ask you guys this. Like, you talk about, like, the hunt, obviously, but what kind of prep work do you have to put in beforehand? Because, I mean, you know, not knowing nothing about it, like, I understand you have to be still and, you know, you obviously know how to shoot and handle a firearm and everything like that. But, like, you know, you mentioned with your daughter, like, you know, scouting and everything like that. So, like, how long before the hunt do you actually, like, spend prepping?
I mean, I think the more you can have them involved in the hunt, the better for them, because then they're gonna enjoy it a lot more. If you go out there and you do all the prep work for them, and then you just take them and let them pull the trigger, they're not even going to fully understand what happened.
Yeah.
So from my personal experience with my daughter, her first hunt, I was listening, which I listen every day prior to season for like a month.
Sounds like
And
me.
I took her listening. I took her listening at least 3 days, like right in a row, right before we hunted. And some of those were in the evening. And we actually got to watch a turkey go and fly up in the tree, and she got to see it and everything. And so she got to hear gobbling, she got to hear hens yelping, and she enjoyed all that stuff. And then we actually went together to set the blind, and she helped me do that. She helped me do all the setup and everything. And then we spent several days, like they were just saying, you know, shooting the gun, getting her comfortable with everything, and trying to go through, you know, kind of pre-gaming scenarios that could happen.
Yeah.
Because the more you're prepared, especially with a kid, because they don't have the instincts that we do, where we've hunted for longer, they just don't have them. So the more you can have that kid prepared for something that might happen, the better off you're going to be. And it's not going to be a total wreck when it happens. You know, because you know turkeys don't stand still; they bob around, and you know that they might get funky with a decoy. If you've got a Jake out or something, they might jump on his back and stuff. And you know, so you just kind of want to go through those scenarios, and you want to make sure that that kid's comfortable with the gun, they understand how it's going to work. And all that kind of stuff. So just kind of do your homework and do your prep work, but try to have them involved as much as possible as well.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't prepare her for when we had that opportunity for her to kill her first bird, we had 4 birds come in. And so they were jaits, and we had decoys set up. And you know when you have a group of jaits and there's decoys, they're going to put on a show. Well, not only that, I mean, their heads are like bobbing in and out. And I mean, you almost got like 4 heads all right there together. So the last thing you want them to do is pull a trigger and wipe out your whole Jake population you got on your on your property, you know?
Yeah, for real.
And so that was one thing I didn't even think about when we were out there practicing, shooting, and setting up. I didn't even mention it to her. And so when we had that opportunity, I think that was the main reason why she didn't want to shoot, because she wasn't not expecting that. She was expecting 1 bird to come down, and we were going to have an opportunity to shoot and practice just like we had done on the farm. But when you get 4 of them, I really feel like that's why she didn't want to shoot. She was afraid she might take out more than one of them. So,
and touching on things that like that, for instance, touching on stuff that feels like common sense to us, but they're kids. They might not know.
Yeah.
You know, they might not even know that a shotgun shell has BBs in it that spread like that could kill multiple turkeys. Those are things that you talk about when you're target practicing, and you show them like, look what this did to this target. You know, just so that they know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I know that while I'm thinking about this, I know that we're talking about getting kids involved and everything, but this pertains to adults as well that maybe didn't have a father in their life, or like a teenage kid that hadn't had a father figure that you're taking, or even a grown man that hasn't been. All of this same stuff applies, because you got to go into it just thinking they don't know.
That's right, Colton. So when
I could feel Brandon looking at me while you were talking.
I was just gonna say, Colton, when you get ready to go out hunting, when we carry you out this year, we're gonna practice a week.
You got it.
I'm gonna get my single shot 410 out. We're gonna carry it out, set it up in the
got it.
blind, and I'm gonna have it set up just right,
Make sure
man.
you know how to
Hey.
handle it.
Yeah.
Hey, I honor you for allowing me to do that.
I'm sorry, man. That was like a layup.
Man, Zach, how
Underhand
much
toss.
did he pay you for that? That's what I want to know.
Well, I'm just saying that because my goal, like every year, and this is just a personal goal of mine, my goal is to introduce someone new to turkey hunting.
Nice.
That's cool,
Whether
man.
that be a
That's
kid or an adult.
Yeah.
And I have done that with a lot of adults.
Yep.
And those adults have since become, they like it.
Yeah.
So they go every year, and I go with them. Several of them, I go with them every year. And when I started with them, they were older, like, almost 30 probably.
Mhm.
And they had deer hunted and stuff, but they had never turkey hunted, so they had no idea. And so, obviously not everything applies, but you have to approach it differently and make sure that they understand just as much as the kid understands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all good stuff, especially starting with the process, what to expect, what to look for, things like that. Everything from sitting up against a tree to this is when you move your gun and, this is how you move it if there's a turkey close and all those things you definitely have to do, in teaching them that process. But as far as when you get into like gear and things that you need to take for kids, what do you feel like is it a couple different types of gear that is essential to have? And maybe, I don't know, we might break it out for age groups. If you have an older kid, you might not need the same gear. But what are some of those specific types of things that you found, hey, if you're going to take somebody or introduce somebody, bring this because it's going to help you out?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is to just make sure that they're comfortable. Comfort is the main thing. Make sure that they're comfortable with their seat, make sure that they're comfortable with their clothes, make sure that they're comfortable with the gun, and pointing the gun, aiming the gun, the sight that you have on the gun. If you have a red dot, make sure that they're very comfortable with that. I think those are probably the most important things. If you get into a hunt that the kid's not comfortable, it's not going to go very well.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to sit still for very long if they're not comfortable. So touching on that, either make sure that if you're sitting on the ground, make sure they have a good cushion or a chair. Like whenever we transitioned from a blind, which we were sitting in chairs, obviously in the blind, whenever we transferred to the ground, I didn't just put her right on the ground. I had one of those gobbler lounger chairs like Cabela's makes that folds out, that's real low to the ground. And so she sat in that chair, which is like a lounge chair. So she was comfortable, and it kept the gun right in position on her knee the whole time. And it was just easy for her to maneuver, and just make sure that they have ear protection. That's another thing that, a lot of kids don't like the loud noise of the gun cracking or whatever. And you want to protect their ears too, being young. And then specifically to my daughters, they are right eye. So they'll close their left eye to shoot the gun or to aim, but they can't close one eye. So, or they couldn't, they struggled with it.
Yeah.
A lot of young kids do. So I had to have an eye patch. So I got like a pirate eye patch from a Halloween store.
Cool.
And, carried that in my vest for her. And, when we forgot it one time and I had to rig something up with a band or something. But, those things are things that you might not think about, but you kind of have to think about with them.
Yeah.
So that it all goes back to comfort, making sure they're comfortable, the hunt, and then making sure they're comfortable when the moment of truth happens. I think that's the most important. And like I said earlier, when we first started, I had a little field pod. It's made by Caldwell, and you just set the gun in it, and it's adjustable, and then it'll swing left and right. And I think that really helped early on. Because young kids aren't very strong, they can't hold a gun up for very long or anything. So that basically takes the weight off of it for them, and they can just get on it and aim and shoot.
And that's another reason why you ought to go out and practice beforehand. That way you can get all those kinks and bugs out of the way. I know with my daughter, when we first started practicing with her, she was just using the bead on the gun to try to hit the target. And bless her heart, she could not hit the target for anything. I mean, we tried 2 different times for her to get that going, and she just could never find it. I don't know what it was. So I just took a red dot put it on there, and it's crazy the night and day difference that it was. She could see that red dot. It was easy for her to picture the red dot and place that red dot on something where she was having a hard time with that bead. And once we were able to get that on the gun, I mean, she started hitting the target no problem after that. So that was one of the challenges that we faced early on. But Zach, what are some of the challenges that you faced with a kid while you're actually been hunting? How did you address that?
Real quick before I go into that, I wanted to touch on one more thing there and you brought it up when you were talking about the red dot. I think another really good tip there is when you're shooting with your kid, don't give them something that's going to scare them, because like that'll just turn them totally off. If you're shooting a 410 or 20 gauge, which is what most kids are going to shoot, I try to let them target practice with like a dove load or something that doesn't have a lot of, doesn't have a whole lot of kick, and then they just get used to that, and then when you get into blind, hunting, you throw a TSS in there, they won't know no difference when the turkey's in front.
That's a good point.
I think that's a big thing too, because they can really get gun shy
real quick.
Target practicing and it's hitting them, and it can happen real quick.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's how we started out with Bailey. We set her up with just a regular bird shot is what we practice on, and we didn't even put a TSS in there until it was game time.
Yeah.
So that's a great point.
I think something else, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, was the clothes deal. I mean, I'm pretty small. I always got cold growing up.
You always get cold now.
Yeah, I get cold now too. But that's another thing that's really important. If you get a kid out there and they're cold, they're not going to have fun, and they're not going to want to go back. So make sure that they've got warm clothes, snacks. Make sure that you've got snacks with you. And I know those things sound simple, but they are very, very important to having a successful hunt and making it to where that kid wants to go back time and time again. Because if they don't have fun, they're not going to want to go back.
No, not only that, but at certain ages, I'm not sure what that age is, but as parents and as hunters, we really don't want our kids on tablets or screen time. But, it may not be that bad of an idea to bring a phone or some kind of tablet with you just to kind of kill that time, especially if you plan on being there for a couple of hours or so.
Yeah, I always let my kids play on my phone or whatever until something started to happen, just to kill time, because their attention spans are really short, and you gotta keep them content. And like Drew said, that's extremely vital. Like those things they seem simple, snacks, screens, whatever, clothes to keep them warm and keep them dry, but those things are vital. I mean, you got to think those kids are going to have first impressions of it, just like we have first impressions of stuff, and you want their first impressions of it to be good. And if you leave a bad first impression and a bad taste in their mouth, they're not going to want to go back. So it makes it a lot easier. And like Drew said, it's not necessarily, like he said, it's making a successful hunt. A successful hunt doesn't necessarily mean killing something. A successful hunt means that they had fun and they enjoyed it, and they want to go back and do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because like first time I went hunting, we went hog hunting in Florida, and in Florida, I mean, it rains every 5 minutes, and we went out one morning and we had to walk probably, if I had to guess, it was like half a mile to the back corner of this field on this cow pasture. And man, it was just swamp the entire way. And I was miserable, and I was soaking wet, and I'm like hanging up my socks and stuff on a tree branch at like 6 a.m. And like, luckily we got a hog that day, and it wiped all the negative out, because I got to kill my first hog. But if I didn't, I could promise you I was never going hog hunting ever again, because I was miserable.
Yeah, so when I started hunting, Dad would carry me deer hunting as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think I went deer hunting probably 2 or 3 years. And it's cold, and Dad did not prepare me for the cold. I wasn't dressed for it. And I went almost 3 years without even seeing a deer in the woods. So I'm really surprised I even care to hunt right now, to be honest with you. But
I'll tell you what, I ruined Gina's first time hunting.
Yeah.
I know I did, because we had a blind set up and we were deer hunting, and it was like middle of January. It was 20 degrees, and we didn't have no heaters, nothing. I had her sitting in a blind off on the tree line.
Yeah.
And man, she's just sniffling every 2 seconds, and she was miserable. Check the cameras later, and there's like a 8-point staring at us while she's over there sniffling.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So just talking about things that you face, challenges that you face while you're hunting with kids, one of the big ones is just a fidgety kid, you know. But maybe let's go through like a scenario. I'm trying to think of a scenario that you'll face a lot of times with a new hunter. It doesn't necessarily have to be a kid, but a new hunter that you would face and how you would overcome that as an experienced turkey hunter. You got any good scenarios right off the top of your
Do
head?
I have any?
I don't have any right off the top of my head.
Zach's already got one lined up, ready to go, man.
No, I don't have any specific scenarios, but I think it all comes back down to just, trying to make sure they have a good experience. And I can tell you a scenario that happened to me with my daughter. This was after she killed her first turkey. We were going for her second turkey, and she had eaten Mexican food the night before, which is one of my rules. Don't eat Mexican food the night before you go.
It sounds like this is one of those
That's a
rules that
life
exists
lesson.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it does. Yeah. So in the spring, we don't eat Mexican food the night before. So we got to the gate, like ready to get out of the truck and make her walk in. And she tells me that she can't go. And I'm like, why can't you go? Like, we've already driven 45 minutes to get here. There is a turkey right there. I know it is because we roosted it the night before. Like, let's go. And she was like, I can't. And I was like, just get out and use the bathroom right there by the truck or whatever. And she couldn't do it. And so I was mad. We had to drive all the way back out to the interstate to find a bathroom. And we came back and we ended up killing a turkey. And it all worked out. But it was one of those instances where, I had to make sure she was comfortable. I couldn't ruin it. And I couldn't, go home and just be mad at her the rest of the day because she ruined the hunt kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because it was still early on and she was still really impressionable and all that kind of stuff. So it all comes back, like I said, to just making sure they're comfortable, making sure they have a good experience with it all. And, sometimes it might test your patience a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially with a kid. But, you just kind of have to do your best to kind of work around it and make sure that they're having a good time.
Yeah,
So.
and I think as parents, we ought to have the mindset and the perspective that they're new hunters, and they may not have the same amount of passion about it as we do.
Right.
And because of that, I think we need to have the mindset of, hey, yeah, we love this, but it may not be the same as they do. And the reason I say that is because after my daughter was able to kill her bird, she's like, oh, I want to go with you every single time now. And so I think it was either the next weekend or it was opening weekend of one of the states that we hunt. That's all she talked about. She wanted to go up and she wanted to go hunting again. And so when that morning came around for youth hunt, she woke her up that morning early and she's like, Dad, I don't want to go. I'm tired. I want to sleep. And man, I'd been fired up about this all week because I'm like, hey, we're fixing to go do the same thing we just did a couple of weeks ago, right? And so I'm not going to lie, I was a little upset about it.
I bet.
I was. And it's I don't know, you just got to put it in perspective of their age that, yes, it's great any moment you get to have the opportunity to go out there, but at the same time, they may not have the same passion about it as you do, and we need to learn to respect that at the same time. And with time and with more hunts in the woods, that passion will continue to grow. So,
right, and don't try to push it or force it
Yep.
on too early. Like I said earlier on, like, you as a parent know when they're ready, but they as a kid will tell you when they want to go and when they don't want to go. And you don't force them, don't force it down their throat, because then they're not going to want to go with you and they're not going to like it. So, take them, let them have fun, look at turtles on the trail or look, find a frog or something, do something fun with them, especially if they're really little.
yeah.
My youngest, she is like attached to me, like she's my buddy. And she loves the outdoors, loves being outside, loves hiking more than anything. And I've taken her one time, and she knows how obsessed I am with turkeys, and she talks to me about them, and we watch turkey hunting all the time, but she hasn't really shown a desire to go yet. And I ask her a lot, are you ready to go yet? Because she's 9 now, so she's of the age that she can go shoot one. And I took her last year, and she got to just go along and experience it and stuff, but she's still pretty little, and she can't handle a gun or nothing yet. So I'm just trying to let her be a kid and let her let me know when she's ready to go, and I'm not going to force her to go until she wants to go.
Yeah. So whenever we were carrying Bailey out there, I want to go out there and hear birds and see turkeys and all that good stuff, but where we hunt at, there's a pretty large creek that runs through the road as we come in. And so we would take that opportunity. I'm going out there to listen to birds and to scout, but in her mind at that point, hey, we're going out there to skip rocks in the creek. We're going out there to pull flowers so we can bring them back home for mom.
Yeah.
And you know what? If we see a deer or turkey, that's awesome. But in her mind, we're just, hey, I'm here with Dad. We're going to go out in the woods and just have a good time, you know?
Yeah.
So
Right.
That's how Lincoln was last year.
Yeah.
His first year to go. And I remember he played flag football last spring, and Saturdays 9 a.m. he had his football game every morning. So, you know, we would go to the farm Saturday afternoons, and we had gone to the farm 2 or 3 different times. He had a good time, but he was like, "Hey, we going to the farm?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you want to go hunting?" He's like, "Well, I mean, I was hoping we could ride the 4-wheeler. I don't really want to go turkey. I just want to go ride the 4-wheeler." I'm like,
and Drew's over here like,
I'm like chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
You know, Saturday, don't get to hunt that morning, so ready to hunt that afternoon. But it's like, know what? We're going to go and we're going to ride the 4-wheeler and we're going to have a good time. If you
Exactly.
change your mind, yeah, we'll take our stuff and we'll go hunt. And if not, we got to spend a day riding the 4-wheeler together. Like,
Absolutely.
it's
And
still
not-
a great time.
And 9 times out of 10, if you're out there riding the 4-wheeler and they know that we have the opportunity to hunt, but we're out here skipping rocks, pull flowers for mom, and they hear a turkey gobble, and it's turkey season, more than likely their mind is going to shift. Okay, let's go after this bird. So
Yeah. I think those are all great things, man. Everything from starting them, you know, just to understanding the process, to understand what's going to happen. You know, we talked about some different types of gear that you'll need, being comfortable. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is just having a good time and making those memories and spending time together. So just kind of going back, is there anything else, any kind of words of encouragement or wisdom for any parents or, you know, adults that are going to take another adult hunting that you might have for them?
Words of encouragement, I would just say, just have a little bit more leeway and have a little bit more patience than you know, like we touched on. They don't have that passion in them that we have as, you know, veteran turkey hunters. You're trying to develop that in them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, take that into account, that you are the segue potentially for them to have what we have. So, but you have to make sure that their experiences are good, you know, in the beginning of things, so that they can experience more and more and more. You know, me personally, right now, my nephew is kind of my protege, I guess you could say. His dad doesn't hunt, so he doesn't have anybody to take him hunting other than me, and he's obsessed with it. And he's 13, and I've taken him on several turkey hunts in the past years leading up to last year. And last year was finally the first year that he got to kill his first turkey. And we just grinded it out. I mean, all morning. And then finally he ended up killing at noon. Our cutoff's at 1, and he killed at noon on public ground. And I told him, I told him before that, he'd never heard a turkey. He'd barely heard a couple turkeys gobble, and he had never seen a turkey in person, like in front of him. He'd never seen one strutting or anything in, you know, 2 years and probably 4 or 5 hunts. And I told him, I said, listen, when you see this, it's going to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing like it. All the words that I can say in the English language cannot describe it to you until you really fully get to experience it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 2 gobblers strut in, and they put on a show in front of him, and he could see him forever. I was blocked by a tree, and I was over his shoulder, and I made him wait until I could see him because I didn't know how far they were. So it was eating at him. He wanted to pull the trigger, and he did good, and he ended up shooting one. It was at 40 yards, and he dropped it. And at the end, and it's in the video, he's literally shaking, and he's laughing, and he can't control it. And we sat on that ridge by that turkey for over half an hour, and I told him, I said, what do you think? And he said, yeah, there's nothing better than this.
No.
And I said, I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah.
And you don't get it until you experience it.
That's right.
And now he's totally ate up. I bought him a pair of the grounded pants at the show this weekend for him, and
I appreciate
so
that.
he'll be wearing those this spring. And he's just constantly calling me, hey, can we go scout? Hey, can we go do this? Hey, can we because like I said, his dad doesn't hunt, so I'm his source. And I deer hunted with him a lot, and I'm going to turkey hunt with him a lot. And he's at a very impressionable age where he wants to do it.
Yeah.
He wants to go, and so I kind of feel responsible that I am the one, I am the source for him.
Yeah,
to get that.
Being available for somebody like that is huge and important, because a lot of people don't have that that resource or that mentor to look up to. So as a turkey hunter, I feel like we all have a responsibility to whoever that is, whether it's a kid, a neighbor, a coworker, whatever it is, that we have that responsibility. If anybody shows interest, unless it's Colton,
a co-host,
unless it's Colton, that we should definitely take the time and make ourselves available for that, because it's very rewarding.
I agree. You should make yourself available.
I did once. But anyways, I mean, the feeling that I got once my daughter was able to kill a bird, and the feeling that you got when your nephew and your daughter were able to kill a bird, it almost surpasses the amount of joy seeing them kill a bird than it was when you actually killed your own bird. And, and I think you and I kind of touched on this, Zach, at the show, that I'm at a point now where, I've been very blessed to kill a lot of birds. And I get more excitement now seeing my daughter kill one, or being in the woods with Drew, seeing him kill one, and maybe one day see Colton shoot his first bird. But I've had several experiences where I've seen others kill their first bird, and it's very rewarding, especially knowing that you played a part in that memory that they're going to have forever.
That's right.
Right. I've killed enough. My time is, I'm 27 years into this thing, into turkey hunting. I've killed enough. I don't have to pull the trigger ever again. I love it because I'm a turkey killer, but I don't have to ever again. And like you said, that feeling of me being a part of theirs, especially their first ones, there's no hunt that surpasses that for me. So,
well, that's awesome. And, it's something that, like, as I think about it, what that experience is going to be like for me, I'm really looking forward to it. But, like, I can imagine for your nephew and for your daughter, like, you get to spend it with the people that, you love the most as well. And, that's like for Brandon and Drew, like, these are my best friends. And so, like, I don't know, maybe they'll both be there, or, who knows who will call me first this year. But, I'm excited for that opportunity. And I know, I'm sure your daughter and your nephew feel the same way.
Oh yeah. And sharing it with a friend is just the same. I get the same feeling as I do with my kids or my nephew, when I get to go with a buddy, and I hunt with a lot of different guys and stuff. And I just like being there.
Yeah.
I just like being there and getting to experience it. And it doesn't matter who pulled the trigger. We killed the turkey together, and I got to experience it all the same. So
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
I guess the only time I wasn't happy when one of my buddies killed a bird was, I've never killed a multi-bearded bird before. And I got a buddy came down and hunted with me one time, and Drew was with me. He was not the one who killed it, but I won't name any names. But he came down and killed a bird, and we picked that joker up, man, and it had 4 beards on it. And I'm like, you're never coming back here again. I've always wanted to kill a multi-bearded bird. You come down here one time, you take it within the first half a day we've been down here hunting. I said, get out of here, man. Go back. Never
Listen,
again.
I got a really funny story about that, talking about multiple bearded birds. I hunted with a buddy in Virginia the first time I went out of state, actually. And I met him on Old Gobbler Forum back in the day. And he invited me down, and my dad was like, you're going to drive down there? You've never met this guy? Like, I'm going with you. Like, he could be sketchy and like a murderer or something. I was like, no, he's fine. So we go down there, and it was an awesome hunt. And I killed a double beard. And he was like, you've got to be kidding me. He's like, I've hunted here for 30 years, and I've never killed a double beard. And you come and you shoot one. So then the same guy I went to Tennessee with, and I killed a double beard there. And he was like, man, I can't take you anywhere. You kill double beard every time we go.
Oh, well, what's bad?
Awesome.
I went to Georgia and hunted with Clay Townsend, and we called in some turkeys, and I killed one of them, and it had 1 9/16 spurs on it. And he was like, dude, You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, yeah. So I got the guy that killed that bird. I got to go up to his place this past year up in Kentucky. And as soon as I walk in the house, you just gotta know this guy. He's crazy. He's funny. He's like, Brandon, I've been waiting all year for you to come up here and look at what I got hanging up on my wall. And he's got that bird. As soon as I walk in, it's just like mounted on the wall right there.
It's got a sign that says "Welcome home, Brandon."
Yeah, exactly.
Hilarious. Well, Zach, I got a question for you real quick. So obviously you were just talking about hunting a bunch of states. What's your favorite state that you've gotten to turkey hunt?
Oh man, I can't have like one favorite state, but I love them all equally. But the South in general is by far my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By far. And I love the mountains of West Virginia because it's just my home and I love hunting here. But man, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi last year, just all of those places. And I tell you why. The reason that they're so special to me is that, like, when you get down there, the heritage around turkey hunting is just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from it is up here, like way different. You get down there and there's so many more good turkey hunters and there's so many more people that do it. And it's just kind of like a common bond that they share.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like I grew up watching, Mossio, Primos, all those boys hunting those swamps in Mississippi and stuff. And it was just like, man, I want to go there and hunt, like my whole life was just, I want to go there. And now that I've got to experience it, like I love the South in general. It's my favorite for sure.
Well, Zach, as we're kind of gearing up for season here, as someone who's never been before, give me like your number one tip that I can take with me.
Man, just soak it all in. Just soak it all in. Like, seriously, that sounds so cliche, but like that is it. Like, go out there and like you never know when it might be your last sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
So like just soak it all in. And if you do kill one, like I was talking to some buddies about this today. Like Dave Owens has done a really, really good job about getting, people to slow down. Like his whole thing around the cigar smoking thing is like get you to slow down and appreciate this turkey. And some people get it and some people don't. Some people just want to do it because it's cool. But really, really think about it in the sense that you just took that turkey's life and think of all the stuff that he endured from the time even before he was hatched to get to that point. Like, and you were the one that ended it for him.
Mm-hmm.
So like he deserves your respect. He deserves your honor. He deserves your reverence. So to me, like it's always been a thing. Like I just think they're incredible creatures. And I've always just admired their beauty and I love their heads. Their heads are just so cool.
Yeah.
And so it's always been a thing for me to just sit down and just appreciate them and just give God thanks for another sunrise. Yep. And so to me, that would be my thing. Just soak it in.
Hey, well, I appreciate that tip, and I think you left the one out about not eating Mexican food the night before.
Yeah.
But I'll always remember that now because of you.
Yeah, that's an unwritten rule. Unwritten rule number 1: don't eat Mexican in the springtime.
That's right.
You got it. Well, hey, Zach, I want to thank you so much for coming on our show and talking to us. I think for Brandon and Drew, they got young ones that are just now getting into the sport. But for me as well, thinking about, I'm 28, going to be 29 here soon. And, I'm going to be able to start my journey into this. And, I think a lot of it actually applies to me as well. And we kind of touch on that a little bit. So I want to thank you for, coming on. And, hey, tell us where, people can find Kingdom Connection at.
Kingdom Connection, we got a Facebook page, and I'm personally on Facebook too. Then we have an Instagram page, and then we have the YouTube channel, which is Kingdom Connection / Grunt Gobble and Gills Outdoors. So
nice.
And we'll be sure to share those on the social posts and stuff when we release this episode, and also in the show notes of the episode so people can find you. But Zach, I want to thank you again for coming on, and we really appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, guys. Well, that was episode number 5 of the Grounded Brand podcast. Like we said, when you're listening to this weekend, what is it, March 1st through the 3rd?
Yeah.
We'll be in Raleigh. We'll be at the Dixie Deer Classic. So be sure, come by and see us. It's the first time we're doing that show, so we would love to see you guys because we've never been to that show before. You can also find us on You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all the social media platforms at Grounded Brand Outdoors. And then, hey, if you're enjoying this, share it with a friend. We love getting to talk to people,
Yep.
Like Zach and, learning more about the outdoors. So if you have a episode request or, something you want to learn more about, let us know. Leave a comment. You can also send me an email personally. It's colton@groundedbrand.com. I'd love to talk to you guys and, work some questions into the episode. Yep. So that's going to be it for episode number 5. We hope to see you guys soon, and thanks for listening.